we'll get started right away. Thank you for coming on a Sunday night. I know it's quite difficult to find an open time to try to come in, but just want to introduce Tom Yashinsky. Tom's our high school football coach. Cameron Robert. Cameron helps us at the Park and Rec. I'm Dan Wick. I'm the Park and Rec director. Craig Cable is our rec supervisor in the back. We started tackle football for 5th and 6th grade about 14 years ago. We've been running. Our numbers have slowly been declining a little bit. The first probably 10 years we played all in-house. We could kind of really control how the games were being played, matchups and things like that. The last few years we've been traveling to some of the other local communities and playing games. I think it's worked out well for us, but there's always this concern about kids getting hurt. Kids not coming out already at 5th grade because they're concerned. A lot of times parents are concerned with it. So Tom and I have been engaged in a number of conversations, and we have found this program of Tacklebar, which I'm going to let Tom kind of get into. But I think this is going to be the best approach for us to grow the sport of football, not discourage a kid being smaller and afraid to go out. Try to put some assurance to the parents that your kid can come and enjoy this and not worry about getting hurt. Now, will injuries happen? Injuries will happen in any sport, but to try to make it and get the kids to learn the sport and enjoy it kind of long term. So with that, Tom's got a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to let him have this. I want to, at any time, if anybody has questions or if you want to wait to the end to ask any of us questions, please do so, because we really want to get everybody's input and ideas in this as we move forward. So thank you. Tom?
Thank you, Dan. Like Dan said, Tom Yashinsky, head football coach on Onalaska. I have been part of the program for 11 years, and this upcoming year will be my 7th year as head coach. And Dan and I sat down in the off season, and we work hand in hand for a lot of things. And I said, Dan, let's look at tackle football with middle school, with 5th and 6th grade. I said, I'm not sure how I feel about it. And, I've heard a lot of feedback from parents that didn't want tackle football at the 5th and 6th grade. So let's look at it. And we found this program that called Tacklebar. It was made up in Minneapolis, up in the cities. And the guy sent me 10 harnesses, and you can look at them there. And we use them a little bit at practice in high school because we don't like to tackle live at practice. And I said, let's look at what this would look like for 5th and 6th grade. So I think if you walked in, you probably saw harnesses. And they're one around the torso, and it's like flag, where when the kid gets the neoprene bar on the back pulled, they're down right there. So unlike flag, though, they still have offensive linemen. They still wear helmet and shoulder pads. But you are not allowed to tackle. So Cameron has is there rules printed? Yep. The rules are printed over there, but there's no intentionally tackling. Will kids go to the ground from time to time because of momentum or whatnot? Yes. But if a kid is deliberately tackled, it's a penalty. And if it continually happens, the kid will get removed from the game until they understand you can't do that. The guy that is running the ball cannot run somebody over. You cannot put your shoulder down. It is made to increase skill. The game is designed to increase skill. We want kids to juke, to spin, to put moves on people, to try and evade tackles without running over another player. Still linemen, so we're still teaching some of the fundamental blocking. And the great thing about this is that kids are still wearing helmets and shoulder pads. They still feel like they're playing football, and it's a great transitional game from flag football to Tacklebar to middle school 7th and 8th grade tackle. Just like T-ball to coach pitch to player pitch, and how you move the mound back, it's just another stepping stone. Same thing, hockey. You can click the next slide. Hockey, they don't allow checking in hockey until 7th and 8th grade. So why are we tackling at 5th and 6th grade? It's a philosophy that I have. Why are we having kids go to the ground? The other thing is, kids' necks in 5th and 6th grade, they're just not fully developed. I don't think that the concussions in 5th and 6th grade tackle football happen because kids are just throwing these big hits on other kids. I think a lot of times it's because kids are tackling by grabbing a jersey and swinging a kid down, and then as they hit the ground, their heads hitting their helmets hitting the ground, and kids' necks just aren't fully developed. They're just not always aware. They're not always paying attention when you're teaching the skill of tackling. How much time do you guys spend teaching tackling at practice? Probably just a great amount of time. And still kids, they just don't get it because they're not paying attention all the time. They're 5th and 6th grade. There's size differences. In Tacklebar, the biggest kid out there can carry the football and still feel like he's playing football, and he doesn't have to play offensive lineman from 5th grade for the rest of his life because someone said you were too big to carry the football. Because the little guy's not going to be afraid to tackle him if all he has to do is pull that bar off his back. Go to the next slide. So why it changed, like Dan said, we had some declining numbers at the 5th and 6th grade level. Safety concerns, it's in the news, all right? I'm not naive to it. As a high school coach, right now I think this upcoming senior class we have 10 kids. All right, that's a pretty low number in high school. If the numbers decline at 5th and 6th grade, it continues as they go up. We know that when a group of freshmen come in, we're going to lose 20 to 30% of them. If we start at 30, we're going to graduate with 18 to 20 kids. So if we start with 20 because they didn't have a great experience growing up, we're going to be down to 12 or 14 or whatever it is. We need a lot of numbers at the high school program to continue to be successful. It's just a numbers game. There's 88 different ways you can contribute in a football game. If you look at offense, defense, and 6 different special teams, 11 kids on each one of those, you got 88 different ways. There are so many different ways you can get a kid into a football game. There are kids that can play football that they can't play any other sport, right? But in football you fit in because there's all these different roles that kids can play. If you can't shoot a basketball, if you can't throw a baseball, come play football. We'll find a spot for you. All right? It's a more age-appropriate game. And I talked about those reasons why. Some of the things that Cameron and I have talked about, we're going to make the rules so that our goal, like Dan said, is to have this game be an in-house game. We want to control the league. So if we can get 6 teams, we're going to go 9-man football. Kids don't come out and play youth football because they love playing offensive line. Okay? So we're going to get rid of 2 of the offensive linemen and play 9-man. What that allows us to do is create probably 1 more team, maybe 2 if there's great numbers, but create another team. And then we're going to determine the defense that is played by the teams in the league that can allow it to be a little bit more of an offensive game. We're going to get the kids throwing the ball a little bit more by spreading it out and only having 3 linemen and controlling how many defensive linemen you can have. It allows the kids more time to throw the ball. Kids would rather run and catch, throw a football than have a 2-yard run time after time because defenses are packing the box and blitzing and all that. So we're going to control the defense. And we can do that if the game is in-house. If we're not playing outside teams and it's an Onalaska league, we can control those things. Allows every player an opportunity to carry the ball without feeling the fear of being tackled. So the big kids like I talked about that never got to carry the ball before because there was a weight limit, now they can carry the ball without the fear of running over a smaller player. And the little kids that just haven't fully developed yet, and that's completely normal in 5th and 6th grade, can carry the ball without the fear of that big kid tackling them and them getting crushed. Okay, so it takes the fear out of football, which is a good thing, which makes kids want to play longer. When those kids quit in 5th and 6th grade, we don't get them back. They don't come back out when they're freshmen and sophomores in high school. They go find something else to do. Okay, so we want to do whatever we can to keep those kids out as long as we can. We think that we give kids a good experience at high school. We teach them a lot of things through football. We want as many kids up there as we can. Go ahead, next slide, Kim. So the rules, still wear helmets and shoulder pads. So no tackling allowed, but one thing that we teach them is the progression into tackling. So you still teach them how to start to form up and square up a player, and then once they wrap up, they pull the bar out, they hold it up, and the play is down right there. We don't teach them to drive the feet. You don't teach them to complete the tackle. 9-man, a smaller field, so going 40 yards, right? So the field will be 80 yards long by 40 yards wide. So if you look at a football field, it's basically the numbers. If you look at the inside of the numbers, that way that helps the defense. If we're going to get rid of 2 players, you condense the field a little bit. It helps the defense so that they don't have 53 yards of space. No live special teams. So kickoffs and punts will be where you catch the ball or where the ball stops rolling. The ball is down there, and that's where the offense starts up from there. Talked about this, local control. it allows us as a group and coaches, parents, whoever's coaching, to make sure that matchups are fair. The last thing you want to do is put a small, the 5th and 6th grade play together. Yes. So put a small 5th grader versus a large 6th grader and think that's a fair matchup. If we have local control and our coaches are working together, they know, hey, I'm putting my smaller guy here. They put the other team matches up equal talent, and kids have an opportunity to find success and not being overmatched by genetics. All right, genetics win youth sports. That's anybody who goes to a basketball tournament or a baseball tournament. The team with the really big kids tends to win a lot, right? If you're just genetically more mature, so let's make those matchups more equal so that kids can have fun and have success. Go ahead. Okay. Let's play the video. The video that you saw when walking in. This is some game footage. Some of this is probably 3rd and 4th grade. Some of it's a little bit older, and they even have some of high school practice on here as well. What I like about it is you see, rarely do you see kids going to the ground. Kids may slip, they may fall, that happens no matter what, but kids aren't getting tackled and thrown to the ground. And I think it allows a lot more time at practice for skill development of throwing, catching the ball, and doing some of those other things that kids, they see on TV and would like to do. We have talked about, Dan and I have talked about, if this catches on and is something that is very well received at the 5th and 6th grade level, we would look at implementing it in the 3rd and 4th grade level. I do believe that when compared to flag football, it is as safe, or if not safer, because in flag football you're not wearing a helmet, and if there's a ball that's contested and you get 2 guys, no helmets, bare heads, colliding, there's a lot more chance of injury there than kids contesting a ball with helmets on. The other thing is this whole conversation kind of started at our all-conference meeting this year for the football coaches, and we sat around the table, and every coach in that meeting from all the MVC schools agreed that they wanted to get rid of tackle football at the 5th and 6th grade, that we wanted to get rid of it prior to the middle school. I know BGC has contacted me, and I think Dan, about the direction that we're going and looking into it. But every coach at the MVC football meeting this year had thoughts on finding a way for their program to move away from tackle football at 5th and 6th grade. Menominee football up in Menominee, Wisconsin, by Eau Claire-ish area. They don't do tackle football until 8th grade. They have 150 kids out. They got the same size schools on Alaska. They have about 40 more kids. They have 150 kids out for football. And they don't do tackle football until 8th grade. And we have 75 kids out. They have 150. And their kids have a great experience going into it. They have a program that's got a lot of history behind it. But nobody's lining up to play Menominee. Like, nobody's asking to play Menominee because they're soft, because they don't tackle at 3rd and 4th grade. And so what I'm saying on that is I don't think that you have to tackle 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th grade to have a quality high school football program. And I think Menominee proves that you grow a program by giving kids a quality experience, and then they keep coming back, and then you teach them how to tackle when they get to high school and in middle school, 7th and 8th grade. Dan, did I miss anything that you wanted me to hit on?
I think that's very good. Do we have any questions? Any comments? Yes.
I love the concept. I think it's a great concept to teach head-up tackling with all the head injuries, the wrapping up, I think the concept is great. I guess my only concern is if Onalaska's the only one doing this, when I send my kid out to play 7th grade, some kid from Holman's gonna take his head off. Because he's been tackling for 2 years where mine hasn't. And I'm not, I don't wanna discourage the program. I think it looks great. I think your experience is what you're after. And that's cool, but I guess my feeling is my guy, he's a little guy, he loves tackle football, and he probably loved this just as much. I'm not saying that, but when he gets to 7th grade level, the progression of the game is bigger and faster. As they get bigger, they're gonna get faster and stronger. So by 7th grade, is some kid who's been playing tackle football for 2 years at Holman or West Salem gonna be that much farther in progression than my kid in tackling? And is it gonna, I guess that's my concern, you know what I mean?
So having run our 5th and 6th grade program for the last 14 years and seeing the classes come through, I will be very honest with you, and we have some coaches in here that coached our program last year. You may have 1 or 2 kids in the 50 kids that we had play last year that could tackle.
And I was at the games, and I totally agree.
You know, and so I don't think you'll see that step. You may have the elite athlete, or as Tom said, the bigger kid at 7th grade that could light somebody up.
Yeah.
But I think 95% of the kids, you will not see a difference. That's just my opinion. I mean, that's...
I don't mean to cause, I'm just...
That's what we're here for. We're here to talk this
The
out.
progression of the game is, and I don't agree, for definitely some of the littler, less athletic kids, I think this is a great experience to get the game going, and I totally buy off on that. I'm just thinking of the progression, and it's, the progression of football is bigger, faster, stronger, as they get bigger and faster and stronger. And so the speed of the game progresses, so I guess I don't want to see our kids, or I don't want the speed of the game to be lost as they progress through and have them get hurt at a higher level. And I don't know if, I'm just...
I understand what you're saying. I understand the fear of that. And like with that, I think that the best tacklers at 7th and 8th grade are big kids that are great athletes. And whether they learned it or not, they just are genetically better. And Nathan Levinsky was probably a really good tackler in 7th and 8th grade. And he's a really good high school football player. And it didn't matter if he played 3rd and 4th grade tackle or 5th and 6th grade, he was going to be a really good tackler in middle school because he's just bigger and faster than other kids. So I don't think you can coach that in terms, you can give kids a ton of reps, but a small kid still isn't going to, having him tackle more in 5th and 6th grade, I don't think is going to encourage him. I think a lot of those kids are going to get discouraged and you're going to lose them. And I go back to the Menominee example of they are not bad game speed wise. They don't have problems. Size wise, they're sending kids to the Badgers every year, and they're not tackling until 8th grade. So in Eau Claire, the Eau Claire schools are going away from tackle football this year as well until 8th grade, I think. So I understand where you're coming from on that, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. And we can agree to disagree on it, or we can.
It's just a concern.
Yeah, and I get that.
I'm not disagreeing with this program or anything.
Right, and I want to hear those concerns. I think we all do, because that's what we're here tonight to do, is talk through that. Ma'am, I think you had your hand.
Well, the concern I had is, for example, I had a son that was in 7th grade, and he was a bigger kid. And no matter what size these younger kids are or advanced, there's still, there's the idea of getting hurt. Football is an aggressive sport. So, to be honest with you, why don't you have 2 different leagues? Different size, aggressiveness or advancement. Because to be honest with you, compared to some of the surrounding schools, GET, they're a mean group. They're tough. They do have a good football team. They have a good program. This is going to probably discourage a lot of people that are in it to have their kids play to the best of their advantage. Not getting hurt, safety is a concern, but that's usually what they're taught. Last year, I didn't see a lot of people getting hurt in the 5th grade program. I thought it was a great program. You guys were teaching them more about safety and plays. So with this going away from tackle altogether, I think it's going to be a disadvantage. I'm going to take my kid to the Boys and Girls Club, I'm not going to keep him in Onalaska, just because I know his advancement is a little bit more advanced and he prefers to, there's not a lot of people that want to do tackle to begin with. Our linemen, I know everyone wants to catch the ball and receive it, but then that's going to discourage him. That's a bigger kid that would normally play the line and not be a receiver or a, quarterback. You're giving all the kids an opportunity, but when it comes down to it for size and aggression and being on the line, that's something that you have to teach your kids at a young age to want to do, if that's the position that they're going to play. I just think that takes away from it to keep them encouraged and active, because that role in itself is to defend the quarterback and to be on the line. That's going to take it away from this, so how are they going to learn that?
They still teach the offensive line. We still have offensive linemen. It's 9-man. They still have 3 center and 2 guards. They'll still teach the skills of the offensive line. In terms of the 2 leagues, sheer numbers, I think, would be one of the biggest reasons for that, is that we don't have the numbers to do in upper and lower league. And I think our goal is to keep it in-house. And I think that's the best way that we can run our program is when we have full control over it, and we can pick matchups, and we can pick the rules of the game and design them to meet the needs of all kids. And in terms of feeling that way about taking your son there, and that's parents' choice. I get that. I'm not going to stand here and argue with a parent that says I want to move my kid. If someone wants to take their kid and play full tackle, that's okay. I think it's in the best interest of our league that we don't do tackle, because it's going to grow numbers. And those kids, when they get to high school, they get to 7th and 8th grade, are going to keep playing because they weren't scared away at 5th grade. I think for every parent that tells me they might move their kid, I've had 3 or 4 say I'm not letting my kid play if it's tackle. So the other thing is, I think that...
Unfortunately, it is, and it's taught safety. It's taught how to protect. You're going to get hit. That's part of the game. So yes, there are some kids that aren't as advanced as others, but you're also taking away from the ones that are.
And I think there's a lot of boys too that are looking forward to being able to tackle.
Right, and that's keeping them in it, right, yeah, mine too.
And I understand that. I don't think it takes away from the skill of the game. I think it increases the skill of the game, and that kids are actually going to get opportunities now, because the quarterback's not running for their life, to throw a ball, to catch a ball, to make moves, to juke, to spin, and those things. Whereas when it's full 11 on 11, I think a lot of times it's a scramble drill where the quarterback is running for his life and just chucking it, hoping that he can find somebody, because the fundamentals of offensive line just aren't there when we like to play everybody at every position, which I think is important. So if we have different viewpoints on that, I understand that. I know I had Randy and I had Eric.
I was just going to say, in regards to the first comment, I think there's a lot. I've seen my sons, I have older ones and younger ones that have gone through, and I've seen kids at all different levels, even in middle school ball, that even the big ones and the small ones, they might, the small ones get afraid, the big ones, some of the big ones even get afraid of the other big kids on the other teams. And I also see those kids that are the big boys at 5th grade, 6th grade, that are the same height as a junior and a senior as they are in 5th grade. So, and I'm just afraid I've seen kids get funneled into a position when they're young and think, well, I've only done a line since 5th grade through 10th grade, so that's where I'm at, even though I'm 5'9" and whatever. It's the only position I've ever been allowed to play because I was a big guy. So I think this program that's one thing I love about it, is my kid might be the tiniest kid now, but maybe he's 6 foot tall and 200 pounds muscle when he's a senior. I don't know. My best friend in high school was, as a 5th grader, was 5'11" with a full goatee in 5th grade, and just blew everybody out of the water. I didn't even want to play against him. We'd play in the yard next to each other and just destroy me. But he was the same height as he is right now. Same exact size he was in 5th and 6th grade. So I think this is great. It just gives more opportunities for a lot of
And I
kids.
love the fact that it's the skill level too. Because I think a lot of that skill gets lost in the game. I watched these guys coach last year, and I was really impressed, because it wasn't like when I was playing tackle football, they were teaching skill level stuff like that. And I love that about this program. I guess that I voiced my concern, and I get it, you know, I mean, I don't want my kid to get a concussion or anything like that. I mean, he's out there because he loves it, and he's a smaller guy, he's not like the big guy, he's a little guy. So if he can learn better skills, I'm all for it. If it gives him a better tools for later down the road, I'm in, man, you know, and that's all I'm asking, is his skills progress, then I'm good with it.
And I think from a coaching perspective and how we run the program, you will not see anything different. We will still do the tackling progression. We're gonna still do the line. I mean, so our practice times, everything will be the same. You know, it's just, we're not taking kids to the ground. You know, we're teaching the wrap up and stuff that we have.
And that, you know, in today's age, that keeping the head up is, I mean, that's the most important thing, so, you know, and I'm all for that, so.
As a teacher and coach that's coached from every imaginable level and officiates a lot of middle school football games, I think we have to look big picture here, long-term development, and not get so consumed on what my kid is doing in 5th grade, but look at what is going to be happening down the road. And from my vantage point, and what Coach is preaching here and trying to get it through to you, is that this is a way to help our kids develop long-term. Football is a numbers game. We need lots of players, and we have to keep kids out. And you know, I know you talk about 5th grade, you know, now Mike, you want to tap. Kids catch up too, and it all evens out at some point. The big thing is we have to look long-term success and development of these kids. And from my vantage point as a teacher, as a coach, and as an official, this is the only way to go.
I don't think you're gonna see kids regress. I don't think the talented kids are gonna regress because they're not tackling.
No way.
Because them tackling kids that didn't wanna get tackled doesn't make them any better to begin with. So that'd be my counter to not keeping up with the skill level. Randy, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I've had conversation with Joe Labuda too at Menominee, and I mean, they're not behind. I mean, they have not done tackle football. And I'm sure their schools, Eau Claire schools in their area are doing it, and Menominee's dominating that area, and they have for years. They're not behind. They emphasize flag football skill development, and then they get them at the high school level, and they keep the numbers, and those kids, they can develop what they need to do. I mean, it's a skill thing at this age, and turning kids off is just a huge element. And I've had an older son go through the program, and it was in-house at that point, and it was much more effective because you could manage the size differential. Going back to in-house and then eliminating just some of the to-the-ground type of stuff, I think it's common sense that it's the best decision to do. That's my opinion.
Any other questions, concerns?
I was just wondering, I kind of quickly read the rules. Is that based off of what other people have kind of been using when they use the tackle bar?
Yeah.
With the no rushing, 5 linemen on the defense, stuff like that, those are all?
Yeah, we actually worked with Tacklebar in the Twin Cities, and Craig just brought up a point, you know, this is endorsed by the NFL. The Minnesota Vikings are using this. For all of us Packer fans, we gotta take a deep breath there, but that's what we have. But yes, so we worked with a number of the suburban communities in the Twin Cities have gone to this, and we did a really good job of robbing and stealing what they had, and they sent it to us. So that we thanked them that they sent it to us in words, so we could change names and put our stuff in there. We still will tweak this. You know, as we said, you know, the whole part of our program is the success for the kids. You know, as a coach, when you see a kid score a touchdown, have something happen, and what we've lost the last few years is when we've had to play other teams, you know, they put 8 guys in the box. So, you know, it's that 2-yard run where we can dictate what happens. And if we can do that, it can be successful for everybody. And so that is the goal, and we probably will continue to tweak that as we move forward, but this is what we got.
So I have another question. From what you guys have for enrollment or for flag football, do you see a drastic decline then at 5th and 6th grade?
There is. Yes and no, because we have families that decide at 3rd and 4th grade, because you have the families that think 3rd and 4th grade tackle football is safer than flag football. It's because, you know, there's a lot of concussions, a lot of head contact and stuff because nobody has pads on. So we see a number of families that go and elect to play tackle at 3rd and 4th grade. So then you have the kids that don't play, that drop down, and then you have the others that add to it.
Do you think there would still be a drop-off now than at the 7th, 8th grade level?
At the middle school level, they usually add a number of kids. They'll probably, last year, I believe our 6th grade class, we had probably 30 kids. They may have 40 kids at the middle school go out for 7th grade football.
I was just wondering if there's any statistics where this is just prolonging that drop-off, or then at 7th and 8th grade, that's gonna be the first year of tackle football, and then you have a much smaller pool than, you know what I mean?
Yeah, in talking to other communities and talking to the Tacklebar people that develop this, they haven't commented about that. I think that what they're trying to do, what we want to do is try to develop that love of the sport to continue with it and understand more of the intricacies of playing and the more details.
And then with that, just a quick comment, they don't necessarily have numbers on that, and that is a great point to bring up and something that they should look at. But in every league that they've done so far, since I believe 2015, there's been about 30, 40 leagues that have kind of sprouted up. Every one of those leagues has shown a drastic statistical increase in enrollment and participation. That's not to say that you can then assume that you still retain those kids, but it is a positive. It is a positive highlight for this.
With any sport, there's always attrition, and whether it be because of tackle or not. But basketball, if you look at how many kids, Craig, how many kids you guys go out for freshman basketball?
20.
So about 20 kids go out, and usually senior night's about 5. So even in hoops, you're losing. At that, they lose more because there's less spots, but 75%. So no matter the sport, there's attrition. I think we'll see a jump in numbers, and I think that we'll get some kids from other communities that parents don't want them to play tackle football. So that also will kind of fuzzy the numbers a little bit, because you'll get kids from other communities that come in and play, but then go back to their home schools for 7th grade tackle football, which that's fine. I'm not here to recruit for open enrollment. All right, I'm here to make our program the safest that it can be, to grow the kids that are here long term.
Besides BGC, then, has anyone else kind of talked about this?
BGC is going to their 3rd and 4th grade program.
Okay.
I just received an email on Friday from Tacklebar with the number of communities that are going. They're adding about, in Wisconsin here, Toma's going to it at 5th and 6th grade. BGC is doing it at 3rd and 4th grade. I didn't print it out to see it, but there is a number of communities that are continuing to add to it each year.
I just wanted to ask, there's not a lot of people here tonight. How are you going to get this out to everybody so that we can get more kids involved in the program?
So we got Channel 8 and Channel 19 here, so they're going to be on there. Todd Sommerfeld from the Tribune is going to write an article on it. He's not here tonight. We're not really allowed to push things through the schools because it's a park and rec, but I'm videotaping the whole presentation, so I'll put that online, and Dan will send it out via the contacts that he has for 4th and 5th grade, word of mouth. People are, I know that there's going to be people that really like this idea. There's going to be people that really don't like this idea, and I'm okay with that because I think it's the best option long term for our program. And if people disagree, that's okay. We can disagree, right? I'm not gonna fight people over it. We can disagree. That's okay. You have the right to choose whatever sport your kid plays, and where they do that. Do I hope they come back to Onalaska when they get to middle school? Yeah, I do. But like I said, I'm not here to recruit. I'm here to do the best I can for the people that want to take part in it, and work together with Dan and Cameron and Craig and the parents and everybody to make it the safest game that the most kids can enjoy. Because I think that's the biggest thing, is getting it where every kid that comes out has a positive experience and feels like they can play football and contribute no matter their size. Because we need them at the high school level. There's kids, like Eric said, there's kids that are gonna have a growth spurt when they hit 8th grade. And those kids don't come back out for football because they had a growth spurt. When they quit, they quit. They just don't come back out. So we want to keep them in the game as long as possible to grow those numbers.
Anybody else have any other?
Maybe more of a program question, I guess, but is this are you thinking, without having to travel, would we keep it more during the week instead of all weekends? And
Yes, we have talked about that, the physicalness of the body and stuff and the wear and tear, we probably would go to some during the week so we could avoid some of the weekends. The kids always enjoy the Under the Lights program, so we would try to continue with that. But it would give us a little bit more flexibility to work with it.
Any other questions, any other comments? If you're not willing to address a concern in front of a large group, by all means, stay after, and I'm willing to talk.
Otherwise, thank you all for coming. And if you do have questions, feel free to give us a call at the Park and Rec or, stop in and talk to us right now. So, okay? Thank you.